So Dr. Mercy Korir is, of course, following this on that end, and she's got Dr. Ouma Oluga from the KMPDU, which is the Doctors Union, and Dr. Mercy is joining me from the Hadassah Hotel in Upper Hill of Superior Hotels, Kenya. Daktari, it's different for the nurses. They don't have a CBA yet, but the doctors do have one that was actually ratified by the court.
Good evening, Yvonne. Yes, the doctors do have a CBA that was signed in 2013, but it has not yet been registered by the courts. And with us here, we have Dr. Ouma Oluga, who will put all this into perspective, explain to us what actually is causing all this stalemate. Yet, as we heard this evening, the CS, Dr. Cleopa Mailu, is hopeful that by the end of tomorrow, there'll have been a solution to the crisis that is plaguing the health system as at now. So with Dr. Ouma Oluga, I think one of the first questions that I would like to ask him is the meeting that was there yesterday that the Ministry of Health and the Treasury had called. Were the doctors invited for that meeting?
Thank you very much, Mercy. We want to make it very clear to members of the public that yesterday was a Sunday, and we did not have any official invitation to a meeting. Besides, we do not engage in meetings that are beyond 5 p.m. And we had a very short notice. We couldn't get all the members. Personally, I had some information to the meeting going on, but none of our other officials in the NEC had that information. And given the very, very short notice of minutes to hours, we were unable to attend. And sometimes we actually think that it was meant just to blackmail the union so that it is said that we do not want to attend meetings, which is not the true position. If any case, we have been requesting for meetings, writing letters for meetings which go unanswered. For the last 3 years, particularly in the last 90 days, we've written several letters requesting for meetings, even when it should have been the prerogative of the government to request and organize for those meetings.
So what then is the reaction of the union and yourselves, considering that later that evening the CS held a press conference to say that, there was supposed to have been a meeting to negotiate and put all this into rest and also avert the strike that took off today?
So as of today, I think it's important to understand that doctors have already begun a strike. And the strike is nationwide, and the strike is affecting all public hospitals in the country. And we are advising our doctors to keep out of work until such a time that we shall communicate to them otherwise. And the bone of contention and the issue is the implementation of the collective bargaining agreement. And I think the government is well aware through the Ministry of Health that this has been an issue for the last 3 years. We have engaged the government for 1.5 years in the court, a case that we won, and then after that the timelines were not adhered to. Again, it is very important to make it clear that the timelines that were given in the court ruling was 30 days for the Ministry of Health, 45 days for SRC, both of which expired before we issued the 21-day strike notice. And therefore, we want to confine ourselves to talking about the collective bargaining agreement. And there is no other negotiation towards return to work formulas. Doctors did not go on strike for the sake of salary only. There are a number of issues in the collective bargaining agreement that we as the doctors of this country want implemented. And the collective bargaining agreement is the bare minimum that we, the doctors, want implemented. This has been an issue up and down. We've been taken in circles. We've been told about SRC. We've been told about Treasury. So this time round, I think it's important that the government takes it very seriously, that if they are to call meetings, which they have not been calling for anyway, then those meetings should be geared towards solving the problem. And solving the problem means implementing the collective bargaining agreement. We are not interested in anything other than that.
So how long are the doctors and the union willing to take all this before we get a collective bargaining agreement?
Unfortunately, we have taken more than we've taken more than 3 years to get to this point, and we have engaged the government in the court for 1.5 years, and then we issued a 21-day strike notice. And it is very important for the public to understand that we, the doctors, feel like we have engaged in a process that is both legal. We have engaged diplomatically. We've engaged respectfully. We've gone to the full length as a union and as the doctors. Most of the time very patient, and that means that the strike having begun, we shall not go back to work until the collective bargaining agreement is implemented. So if it takes 2 years, if it takes 1 year, whatever time the government is willing to take, until such a time that they implement fully the collective bargaining agreements. And by the way, for us, when we go to talk, we will be talking about our arrears for the last 3 years when it comes to the money. Those are the things that we'll be talking about.
Yvonne, I think you've heard it. The doctors will be on strike for as long as it takes to implement the collective bargaining agreement. So whether that will be done tomorrow or that will take another few more weeks or months, we are yet to see. Yvonne, I hand you back to studios here from the Hadassah Hotel.